Welcome back to another episode of Valuable Coins, where we dive deep into the world of numismatics, uncovering the most valuable and unique coins in the market today. If you're a coin enthusiast, collector, or simply interested in the incredible value of rare coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we will explore two of the most fascinating and expensive United States coins currently circulating the auction market. First up, the 1998 Australian 50-cent coin is part of the long-running decimal series that has been a cornerstone of Australian currency since the mid-20th century. Introduced in 1966 with the shift from pre-decimal pounds, shillings, and pence to the decimal system, the 50-cent piece has undergone a few transformations, but remains one of the most iconic and recognizable coins in circulation. The 1998 issue sits within this history as a standard circulation piece, but carries features that continue to make it interesting for collectors and enthusiasts alike. The reverse of the coin features a design that has been a constant on 50-cent pieces since 1969. The Australian coat of arms by Stuart Devlin. At the center is a shield with 6 sections, each containing the badge of one of the Australian states. Supporting the shield are the kangaroo and the emu, two of Australia's most famous animals, both chosen as national supporters because they are unique to the country and symbolically represent progress, as neither moves backward easily. Above the shield is the 7-pointed Commonwealth star, and behind the entire design are branches of golden wattle, the national floral emblem. Devlin's design is detailed and intricate, rewarding close examination with its fine texture and symbolism. From a technical perspective, the 1998 Australian 50-cent coin is struck in copper-nickel alloy, weighs 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters across. It retains the distinctive 12-sided or dodecagonal shape that makes it unique among world coinage. This shape not only sets it apart visually, but also provides a tactile recognition for users. With millions produced for circulation in 1998, this issue is not considered rare. Its availability in large numbers means that collector value is highly dependent on condition. The coin being discussed here is described as being in dirty condition with a black color shade and some scratches. These factors significantly affect its value. Over time, coins in circulation are exposed to dirt, oils, and environmental conditions that can cause discoloration or toning. A black color shade often comes from oxidation or accumulated grime, which, while interesting from a visual perspective, is generally seen as damage in the numismatic community. Scratches further reduce appeal, as collectors typically prefer coins with smooth, original surfaces in numismatic grading terms. This coin would fall into a circulated grade, possibly fine or lower depending on wear and surface marks. In such condition, the coin shows clear evidence of handling. The high points of the Queen's portrait and the coat of arms on the reverse would display flattening and loss of detail, while the design remains visible. The sharpness and crispness that make higher-grade examples appealing are largely absent in dirty and scratched coins. When it comes to market value, the 1998 Australian 50-cent coin in this condition generally does not command much premium above its face value. In today's auction market, a coin in dirty, scratched condition is typically valued around 50 cents, the same as its face value. Collectors are unlikely to pay more unless the coin has some unique feature, such as an error. However, it is important to note that coins in better condition from the same year can carry more value. For example, an uncirculated 1998 50-cent coin with full luster and no marks might bring $1 to $3 at auction. Proof versions, struck in special collector sets with polished dies and mirror-like finishes, are much more desirable and can range from $10 to $20 or more, depending on demand and presentation. Error coins, such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or clipped planchettes, are also highly collectible and can command strong prices far above the standard market. But in the case of a standard 1998 coin in black shade and dirty condition with scratches, the reality is that its value remains close to its face value. While it may not be a financial treasure, it is still historically and culturally significant. It marks the last year of the Raphael Valuabe portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on Australian coinage, a portrait that defined more than a decade of Australia's circulating currency. It also continues Stuart Devlin's classic coat of arms design, which ties the series back to its early years. First up, the 1978 Australian 20-cent coin is part of the second decade of Australia's decimal currency system, which had been introduced in 1966. By the late 1970s, the decimal series had already become well established, with the 20-cent coin proving to be one of the most practical denominations for everyday use. Millions of Australians carried this coin in their pockets daily, and it served as an essential part of commerce, making it both historically interesting and nostalgic for collectors. While not considered rare, the 1978 issue still holds a place in numismatic history, and condition plays a significant role in determining its current market value. The reverse features the classic and enduring design of the platypus created by Stuart Devlin, the renowned goldsmith and jeweler who designed much of Australia's decimal coinage. The platypus, with its distinctive duck-like bill and webbed feet, is shown swimming gracefully through stylized currents of water. The bold numeral 20 sits prominently above, making the denomination immediately recognizable. This design has become iconic and is still used on 20-cent coins today, a testament to its timeless appeal technically. The 1978 Australian 20-cent coin was struck in copper nickel, weighing 11.31 grams with a diameter of 28.65 millimeters. It has a milled edge and a fairly large size, giving it a noticeable presence compared to smaller denominations. The mintage for the year was in the tens of millions, meaning the coin is not rare, especially in circulated grades. However, high-quality examples in uncirculated or proof condition are more desirable to collectors. The coin being considered here is described as being in good condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, good condition is one of the lower circulated grades, meaning the coin has seen heavy wear from use. On a 1978 20-cent coin in good condition, much of the finer detail in the queen's hair on the obverse would be worn smooth, and on the reverse, the platypus and the flowing water would appear flattened, with only the main outlines still clear. Scratches are also mentioned, which further reduce eye appeal and lower collector demand, since scratches are considered damage beyond normal circulation wear, because the large mintage and the amount of surviving coins. Australian 20-cent coin in good condition with scratches does not hold significant value in today's auction market. Typically, such a coin will trade at face value, which is 20 cents in Australia. Occasionally, if sold singly on online auction sites, it might bring slightly more, perhaps around 50 cents to $1 if someone specifically needs that date to complete a collection. However, coins in this grade are extremely common, so the demand remains very low. The real premiums for 1978 coins begin to appear in higher grades. Very fine and extremely fine examples, with much more detail remaining, might be worth $1 or $2. Uncirculated coins with full mint luster can fetch more, often selling in the $3 to $5 range depending on their quality and the market demand. Proof coins from 1978, which were struck with special dies for collector sets, can sell for significantly more, sometimes in the $10 to $20 range if kept in original packaging. Error coins, such as misstrikes or clipped planchettes, can also bring strong prices, sometimes well above standard values, but those are much less common. Next up, the 1982 Australian 50-cent coin is part of the decimal coinage series that began in 1966, when Australia transitioned from the old system of pounds, shillings, and pence $2 and cents By the early 1980s, the 50-cent piece had already become a familiar part of everyday transactions. With its large size, distinct 12-sided shape, and symbolic design, it was one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. The 1982 issue stands as an interesting piece for collectors, reflecting both the enduring traditions of Australian coinage and the everyday commerce of the era. From a technical perspective, the 1982 Australian 50-cent coin was struck in copper-nickel alloy, with a weight of 15.55 grams and a diameter of 31.65 millimeters across its widest points. Its distinctive dodecagonal shape ensures that it cannot be easily confused with other coins. Millions of these coins were minted in 1982, so it is not considered rare or scarce. In fact, most 1982 50-cent pieces are still commonly found in circulation today, which means that collector value is heavily dependent on condition rather than rarity. The coin being discussed here is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, fine condition indicates a coin that has circulated widely. It shows significant wear, especially on the high points of the design. On the obverse, the Queen's portrait would appear worn and flat, with much of the finer detail in the hair and crown reduced or missing. On the reverse, the kangaroo and emu would still be visible, but flattened, and much of the texture of the shield and wattle sprays would be indistinct. Fine condition coins are considered collector grade, but they are on the lower end of the scale. Below, very fine, extra fine, and uncirculated. The presence of scratches further reduces the coin's appeal. Scratches are considered damage, and while light marks are common on circulated coins, more noticeable scratches detract from my appeal and limit collector demand. For this reason, a fine condition coin with scratches would not command strong premiums at auction. In today's auction market, Australian 50-cent coin in fine condition with some scratches typically sells for around its face value of 50 cents. Collectors who specialize in date runs of Australian 50-cent coins may include it in their collections, but there is little financial incentive for them to bid high on a scratched and worn example. Dealers also generally sell these coins at or near face value, often as part of bulk lots. That said, higher grade examples of the 1982 50-cent coin can bring modest premiums. Coins in very fine or extra fine condition, with clearer detail and fewer marks, may sell for $1 to $2. Uncirculated coins, especially those with original mint luster and no scratches, can attract prices between $3 and $5 or more, depending on demand. Proof issues, struck in small numbers with mirror-like fields for collector sets, are significantly more valuable and can sell for $10 to $20 or higher, particularly if housed in their original packaging. Error coins from 1982 are also of interest to collectors. Mistrikes, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clipped planchettes, can fetch much higher prices depending on the severity and rarity of the error. These unusual coins are sought after not only by Australian collectors, but also by error specialists worldwide. Still, even though a 1982 coin in fine condition with scratches may not be financially valuable, it remains a piece of history. It represents the era of the Makin portrait, one of the most widely used depictions of Queen Elizabeth II on Australian coins. It also continues the tradition of Stuart Devlin's coat of arms reverse, which has become an enduring symbol of Australian currency. For collectors, coins like this may serve as placeholders until higher-grade examples are found, or simply as reminders of the coins that once passed through the hands of millions of Australians in daily transactions. Next up, the 1982 Australian 20-cent coin is part of the well-established decimal coinage series that had by then been circulating for over 15 years. Introduced in 1966 as part of Australia's transition from the old pounds, shillings and pence system to the modern decimal dollar, the 20-cent coin quickly became one of the most practical and recognizable denominations in everyday use. By 1982, millions of Australians were accustomed to carrying this coin daily. Its design had already become iconic. For collectors today, coins from this era are still of interest, although condition plays a major role in determining their market value. Technically, the 1982 Australian 20-cent coin was struck in copper-nickel, weighs 11.31 grams, and has a diameter of 28.65 millimeters. It has a reeded or milled edge and is relatively large and heavy compared to smaller coins, giving it a distinct presence in circulation. The mintage for 1982 was in the tens of millions, ensuring that the coin is not rare overall. However, as with most coins, condition makes a significant difference in value to collectors. The coin in question here is described as being in very fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, very fine is a mid-range circulated grade. Coins in very fine condition show clear details on the major design elements, but also display noticeable wear from use. On a 1980 to 20-cent coin, you would expect the queen's hair on the obverse to show flattening on the highest points, though most of the portrait remains distinct. On the reverse, the platypus would still be clearly visible, but much of the finer detail, such as the fur texture and water ripples, would be worn smooth. The rims should remain intact, though the coin will no longer have any mint luster. The presence of scratches lowers the eye appeal, since collectors typically prefer coins with clean surfaces, even in circulated grades. When it comes to value in today's auction market, a 1982 Australian 20-cent coin in very fine condition with scratches typically carries only modest value. Because of the high mintage, circulated examples are quite common. In most cases, such a coin will trade for around its face value, which is 20 cents in Australia. Occasionally, if sold individually to someone specifically looking for a 1982 date, it might bring a small premium, perhaps 50 cents to $1. However, scratched coins are less attractive, so even this modest premium is not guaranteed. Higher values are found in coins that are in better condition. Extremely fine examples, showing only light wear and with more design detail intact, can sell for $1 to $2 in auctions. Uncirculated coins with no wear and full mint luster are worth more, often in the $3 to $5 range, depending on quality and demand. Proof coins from 1982, struck with polished dies and included in collector sets, are significantly more valuable, sometimes reaching $10 to $20 or more if preserved in their original packaging. Era coins, such as off-center strikes or clipped planchettes, are also collectible and can command premiums far above regular values, though such pieces are much less common in practice. Most 1980 to 20-cent coins in circulated condition, especially those with scratches, are sold in bulk lots rather than individually. Collectors and dealers often sell rolls or bags of mixed decimal coins, and the per-coin value in such sales usually works out to face value. Individual listings for scratched or worn 1982 coins do not usually attract high bidding, since higher-grade examples are relatively easy to obtain. For beginning collectors, however, a coin in very fine condition can still be an affordable way to fill a date in a collection. Next up, the 2001 Australian 50-cent coin is a particularly interesting issue in the long-running series of Australian decimal coinage. By this time, the 50-cent piece had already become one of the most recognizable coins in the country, thanks to its large size, heavy weight, and distinctive 12-sided design. The 2001 issue, however, stands out because it was released during Australia's centenary of Federation celebrations, and this year produced not only standard circulation coins, but also a wide range of commemorative designs. For collectors, this makes 2001 an especially significant date in the series, the reverse of the standard. 2001 issue continued with Stuart Devlin's classic design of the Australian coat of arms. This has been the standard reverse for most 50-cent coins since 1969. At the center is the shield, divided into 6 sections containing the emblems of the 6 Australian states. Supporting the shield are the kangaroo and the emu, chosen as national supporters because they are uniquely Australian and symbolize progress as they do not easily move backward. Above the shield sits the Commonwealth Star, with its 7 points representing the states and territories, while sprays of golden wattles surround the composition. Devlin's design is both detailed and symbolic, combining natural elements with national identity. However, 2001 also saw the release of Special Centenary of Federation commemorative 50-cent coins. These included a series featuring designs for each of the states and territories of Australia, making the year highly collectible. Millions of both standard and commemorative coins were issued, ensuring their presence in circulation and popularity among collectors. From a technical perspective, the 2001 Australian 50-cent coin is struck in copper-nickel alloy, weighs 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters across its widest points. Its 12-sided shape makes it instantly identifiable and easy to distinguish from other denominations. Because large mintages were produced for both the standard and commemorative issues, the 2001 coins are not rare. Their value today largely depends on condition, specific design type, and collector interest. The coin being discussed here is described as being in good condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, good condition places the coin on the lower end of the grading scale. This means the coin circulated heavily with significant wear to its surfaces. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II's portrait would appear flat, with much of the detail in her hair and diadem lost to wear. On the reverse, the kangaroo and emu would be visible but lacking texture, and finer details of the shield and wattle sprays would be heavily worn down. The mention of scratches further reduces the appeal of the coin. Circulation naturally leads to nicks, dings, and scratches, but these marks still count against the coin's eye appeal and collector desirability. Coins in good condition with scratches are considered filler coins in collections, suitable for someone trying to complete a set of dates, but not highly valued otherwise. In today's auction market, a 2001 Australian 50-cent coin in good condition with scratches is typically worth its face value, which is 50 cents. Collectors rarely pay premiums for such examples because they are so common. Dealers may sell them in bulk lots where their per-coin value remains at or close to face. That said, higher-grade 2001 coins are more desirable. For example, coins in very fine or extra-fine condition may fetch $1 or $2. Uncirculated coins with full mint luster and no scratches can bring $3 to $5 or more. Proof issues, struck in limited numbers for collectors with mirror-like finishes, are considerably more valuable, ranging from $10 to $20, depending on presentation and condition. The Special Centenary of Federation commemorative designs are also more collectible than the standard coat of arms version, and some of these can attract modest premiums even in circulated grades, while uncirculated examples command higher values. Next up, the 1967 Australian 20-cent coin is one of the early issues from the decimal currency era, making it a historically significant piece for collectors of modern Australian coins. Australia made the bold move to decimalize its currency in 1966, moving away from the system of pounds, shillings, and pence that had been in place for generations. The 20-cent coin, introduced that same year, was one of the new denominations, and it quickly became one of the most practical and widely used coins in circulation. By 1967, the second year of decimal minting, millions of Australians were already familiar with the design, and the coin had firmly established itself as part of daily life. On the obverse of the 1967 coin is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Mackin. This portrait was used on Australian coins from 1966 through 1984, and is one of the most iconic depictions of the Queen. She is shown wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. a regal and elegant representation that became widely recognized across Commonwealth nations. Around the portrait are the words, Elizabeth II, Australia, 1967, identifying both the monarch and the issuing country, along with the date. The reverse design is the famous platypus, created by Stuart Devlin, who was the goldsmith to the Queen and the designer of much of Australia's decimal coinage. The platypus is one of Australia's most unusual animals, being both a mammal and an egg layer, with a distinctive duck-like bill and webbed feet. On the coin, the platypus is shown swimming through stylized currents of water, with the bold numeral 20 placed prominently above the design. This reverse has become one of the most enduring and loved coin designs in Australia's history, remaining unchanged for decades. From a technical standpoint, the 1967 Australian 20-cent coin is made of copper nickel, weighs 11.31 grams, and measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter. It has a milled edge and is larger and heavier than many modern coins, giving it a distinctive feel. The mintage for 1967 was very large, with over 83 million coins struck for circulation. Because of this high mintage, the coin is considered common overall, though its collectability depends largely on condition. The coin being discussed here is in dirty condition, with some scratches. A dirty coin generally means it has picked up grime, discoloration, or toning from circulation and storage over decades. Scratches further reduce eye appeal since they are considered damage in addition to the wear the coin has naturally acquired. In grading terms, a dirty, circulated coin with scratches usually falls somewhere between good and fine condition. In this range, the details of the Queen's hair and the platypus design are still visible. But much of the finer detail has been worn smooth, and the overall look is dull and heavily circulated, because the 1967 coin had such a high mintage. Examples in circulated grades like this one are not particularly valuable. In today's auction market, a 1967 20-cent coin in dirty condition with scratches usually sells for around face value, which is 20 cents in Australia. Occasionally, if sold individually to a collector who needs this date, it might bring slightly more, perhaps 50 cents to $1, but in most cases, the value remains minimal. These coins are very common. Collectors generally prefer higher-grade examples when building sets. The real premiums for 1967 coins appear in higher grades. Coins in very fine or extremely fine condition with sharper details and less wear can sell for a few dollars each. Uncirculated examples with full mint luster can fetch even more, often in the $5 to $15 range depending on quality and demand. Proof coins, which were struck in small numbers for collectors in 1967, are especially valuable, often selling for $20 or more if well preserved. Error coins, such as off-center strikes or clipped planchettes, can also attract strong prices, sometimes reaching much higher levels depending on the rarity of the error. Next up, the 1964 to 2014 Australian 50-cent coin is a fascinating piece because it represents a commemorative issue, marking 50 years of decimal currency in Australia. Decimalisation was one of the most significant changes in the nation's financial history, replacing the old pounds, shillings, and pence system with dollars and cents. The transition began in 1966, but in 2014, the Royal Australian Mint issued a special commemorative series to celebrate half a century of decimal coinage. Among these was the 50-cent coin, which, with its large, distinctive shape and long-standing use in circulation, served as a perfect canvas for a design celebrating this milestone. The reverse of the 196-42014 commemorative 50-cent coin is what sets it apart from standard issues. Instead of Stuart Devlin's long-serving coat of arms design, this coin features a design celebrating the 50th anniversary of decimal currency. At the center of the reverse is the dual date 1964 to 2014, representing the half-century being commemorated. Surrounding the dates are stylized depictions of earlier Australian coins from before decimalization, such as shillings and pennies, alongside modern decimal coins. This juxtaposition honors the nation's transition from one system to another. It's a thoughtful and symbolic design that not only acknowledges the past but also celebrates the continuity of Australia's coinage system into the present. Like other 50-cent pieces, the 2014 commemorative coin is struck in copper-nickel alloy, weighs 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters across its widest points. Its distinctive dodecagonal, or 12-sided, shape remains consistent with the style first introduced in 1969, making it instantly recognizable. Millions of these coins were minted for circulation, ensuring that they would be available to the general public and not limited only to collectors. This accessibility was part of the Royal Australian Mint's goal of bringing history into the hands of ordinary Australians. The coin described here is in extra fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, extra fine condition means the coin has seen only light circulation. Most of the original detail remains intact, though there may be minor wear on the highest points of the design. On the obverse, the Queen's diadem and hair would still show clear detail, though slight flattening might be visible. On the reverse, the intricate commemorative design and lettering remain sharp, with only light signs of wear. However, the presence of scratches lowers the coin's overall eye appeal and reduces its potential value too. Collectors. In today's auction market, the value of a 1964 to 2014 Australian 50-cent coin in extra fine condition with scratches is generally modest. Circulated examples like this usually sell for around their face value of 50 cents to perhaps $1 or $2. Because millions were minted, availability is high, and collectors can easily find these coins in better grades. Coins in higher grades, however, attract stronger interest. Uncirculated examples, particularly those with bright luster and no marks, can sell for $3 to $5. Proof versions, specially struck with polished dies for collector sets, are far more valuable and can fetch between $10 and $20 or more, especially if they remain in their original packaging from the Royal Australian Mint. Error coins from this year, such as mistrikes, clipped planchettes, or double strikes, are also highly sought after and can command strong premiums depending on rarity, while the coin in extra fine condition with scratches may not hold significant financial value. It has considerable historical importance. It tells the story of Australia's journey from the pre-decimal era into the modern age of decimal currency. The dual date of 1964 to 2014 encapsulates 50 years of change, progress, and continuity in Australia's coinage. For collectors, even a circulated and scratched example has a place in the broader narrative of Australia's numismatic history. Next up, the 2008 Australian 20-cent coin is part of a long-running series that began in 1966 with the introduction of decimal currency. By 2008, the 20-cent coin was already a familiar piece of everyday money to millions of Australians, and it continued to circulate widely. For collectors, coins from this year are not especially rare, but their condition and any unique characteristics can influence their value in today's auction market. The reverse carries the same design that has graced the 20-cent coin since decimalization. The Platypus by Stuart Devlin. The platypus, one of Australia's most unique and beloved native animals, is shown swimming through water, its body in motion surrounded by flowing currents. Above the design is the large numeral 20 clearly identifying the denomination. The simplicity and strength of this design has helped it endure for decades, and it is instantly associated with Australian coinage. From a technical perspective, the 2008 20-cent coin is struck in copper-nickel, weighs 11.31 grams, and has a diameter of 28.65 millimeters. It has a milled or reeded edge and, like earlier issues, is large enough to have a noticeable presence in circulation. Tens of millions of 20-cent coins were produced in 2008, making this a common date overall. Because of the large mintage, condition is the key factor in determining how much value an individual coin might hold. The coin being discussed here is an extra fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, extra fine is a high circulated grade, meaning the coin has seen use but still retains a great deal of detail. On a 2008 coin in extra fine condition, you would expect the queen's hair detail on the obverse to remain sharp, with only light where visible on the highest points. The lettering and date are clear, and the rims are strong. On the reverse, the platypus design still shows good definition, though some of the finer details, such as texture and water flow, may show small amounts of flattening. However, the presence of scratches lowers the overall appeal. Scratches are considered damage and can reduce value because collectors prefer clean, problem-free surfaces, even in circulated grades. In today's auction market, the value of a 2008 Australian 20-cent coin in extra fine condition with scratches is modest. Because these coins are still relatively modern and were produced in large numbers, they are readily available. Typically, such a coin would sell for around face value, which is 20 cents, or perhaps up to 50 cents if a buyer is specifically seeking a 2008 example. Scratches tend to push the value toward the lower end of this range, since they make the coin less desirable compared to cleaner examples. Coins in better condition do attract higher prices. A 2008 coin in about uncirculated condition, showing only the slightest wear, might sell for $1 to $2. Full uncirculated coins with original mint luster and no scratches are more attractive to collectors and can bring $3 to $5, particularly if sold individually in auctions. Proof coins, struck with polished dies and sold in special collector sets, are much scarcer and can command even higher prices, often $10 to $20 or more depending on packaging and condition. Error coins, such as off-center strikes or double strikes, are also valuable and can sell for significantly higher amounts, sometimes reaching into the tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on rarity. In practice, most circulated 2008 20-cent coins are sold in bulk lots rather than individually. Dealers often bundle together modern decimal coins by year or type, and the per-coin value in such lots usually works out to face value. Individual listings for coins with scratches are less likely to attract competitive bidding, since collectors can easily find higher quality examples. However, for a beginning collector or someone building a date run of Australian 20-cent coins, an extra fine example, even with scratches, can still be useful to fill a space in an album at little cost.